Boker Tov. I am coming to you from my red room, and the date is December 7th, a date that will live in infamy. I'm going to change your mind about this date's reference. Of course, that's a famous quote concerning December 7th, the date that Emperor Hirohito in Japan, Empire of Japan, bombed Pearl Harbor. And that is a day when, actually just about as many soldiers died on our ships, and civilians as well, as on 9/11. Another day that lives in infamy. But I'm not talking about that day. So, it's hard to think of this day in any positive way, but I want to suggest to you that there's another way to look at the so-called day of infamy. The Jews in Germany were all but eliminated in Poland, in Hungary, in Lithuania, in France, in Poland, in Italy, and dozens of other countries, and hundreds of cities across Europe. Jews were being literally exterminated. Many were begging, including Churchill, to enter the war, to stop what was going on. The so-called final solution, a solution that was penned, dated the 9th of Av, Tish B'Av, another date that lives in infamy. In my opinion, that's the date. That and I forget the day of Tammuz, that live in infamy. But Pearl Harbor, let's see it in a new light, a different light. Had the emperor, the godhead figure of Japan, the rising sun, they worshipped him. He was a deity. He was perceived to be godlike, if not God. Okay? Bombed Pearl Harbor, how many more Jews would have been eliminated? The Germans were accelerating their assemblage and murder of Jews and others at fast pace. The process, and it was a process of elimination, was a combination of collection and using them as forced labor, death labor. Work will set you free in a sense of your spirit. Your soul would be let out of your body, but and then just outright assassinations. You know, mass shootings, mass murders in place, burning them in their synagogues, shooting them in their villages, gunning them down with machine guns in mass, putting them in mass pits. These graves are throughout Europe. But it had gone from assembling them to moving them from their ghettos, their collection points, onto the rails, off to the death camps. The process of extermination, they were getting better at it. They were getting more efficient. They had developed new methodologies. And the rate at which they were killing Jews was accelerating. Had we not entered the war, 6 million might have been 10 million. It might have been 7 or 8. But nearly half the population was wiped out. How many more would have died? What would have been left? Would it have been enough to preserve us if all the Jews were entirely wiped out? And in many cities, it went from, hundreds down to none. Thousands down to 100. I mean, this was really genocide, truly genocide. But the Emperor Hirohito decides to take on America and bomb Pearl Harbor. And that whisks us into the war. That just propels us right into war. Right into war with Germany and, of course, Japan and Italy and the other, the German allies, the Nazis allies. So this day that lives in infamy cost thousands of American lives, true. But so many fewer American lives probably would have been lost had we entered the war or tried to defeat Nazism even before the war, well before the war, in the early 30s, mid-30s even. But we resisted because there was so much anti-Semitism, so much hatred of communism, fear of communism as well, and socialism. But a great deal of the people in our government and across our country had no desire to save the Jews. I mean, this was a country that was, in many respects, because of Christian roots, there was a lot of hatred. Because of the blood libel, and things that the Pope said, there was a lot of hatred for Jews in America. But there was a lot of hatred for Jews, period. Because that goes back long before Christianity. All right? Now, Emperor Hirohito loses the war. And what happens in that process? They lose their God. Because the God of Japan was defeated by the God of America, the Judeo-Christian God. You see, it wasn't a day of infamy in that sense. It was a glorious day. It was a day when we went to battle against the absolute evil. You could say almost a Satan incarnate, or what do they call it? An Antichrist figure. Satan. Okay? He was likened to Nero. He was likened to, so many other terrible people in our past that did horrible things to the Jewish people. But because of the day of infamy, we fought back. We fought back. You can think of it as Purim. Haman was going to destroy us. Haman was here, ready to destroy us on the 13th of Adar, which, by the way, is the same day as the great battle in Hanukkah. So, right at the time of Hanukkah, right at the time of the 13th of Adar, Purim, okay, in a calendar sense now, in December 7th, we turned things around. That battle, that bombing, was the turn. Okay? It was the turn. It brought us into the war. And it saved Europe. It saved the Jews. Probably saved the world. December 7th, no. It's a horrible thing for people to die at all. But December 7th is a glorious day as far as I'm concerned. It's a date that should have come a lot earlier. It's a date that America turned and entered the war. And the Judeo-Christian God put down Emperor Hirohito's God. Take care.